household of entrepreneurs, and so they taught us that you can do it. All you've got to do is leave the cave, kill something, and drag it home. I mean, you can go out there and make something in this world, and that the free enterprise system is not broken, and it's tough, it's hard, but you can do it. And so I believed that, and I still believe it. I went and got my real estate license when I turned 18, and when I graduated from college, I started buying and selling real estate, and starting from nothing, I got rich. At least by a kid from Antioch, Tennessee standards, I ended up with about $4 million worth of real estate, or a little over $1 million net worth. I was making a couple $100,000 a year. Now that's 1982. 20,000 bucks a month from the neighborhood I grew up in, that's called rich. And we were having a blast. But I'd borrowed too much money, and the short version of the story is the bank got sold to another bank. They called our notes. We were doing Flip This House before Chip and Joanna were born. The bank called our notes, and we spent the next 2.5 years of our life losing everything we owned. We were sued and foreclosed on, and with a brand new baby and a marriage hanging on by a thread, we had the opportunity to start over after bankruptcy. It was brutal. It was gut-wrenching. It was life-defining. And it was, at the time, the worst thing that had ever happened to me at all, the worst trauma. To not be able to keep your word, to have your integrity just crushed by your stupidity. Obviously now, 30 years later, I realize it's the best thing that ever happened to me, because I learned a whole new way of looking at money. I realized that borrowing money was a bad plan, and we've since been able to put lots of data to that and millions of lives to that idea, that the idea of if you don't have any payments, you've got money and you can build some wealth. And so we began a debt-free life. I'm 28 years old, and I'm 62, so it's worked out pretty well. There's the problem, and then there's the symptom. The symptoms are always new. Bitcoin, a get-rich opportunity, right? That's a new symptom. There's been all kinds of symptoms pop up over the years that are different. There was a period of time where credit card debt was the most awful thing on the planet. Then there was a period of time where student loans are the most awful thing on the planet, and the thing that is holding down the middle class, the thing that's crushing families and these kinds of things. And then there was a period of time in 2008 when mortgages were failing and the real estate market failed. And so we've seen all these things, but they're basically, those are all symptoms. And underlying all of that, again, very similar to your insights, is the idea that principles have been violated. And when you violate principles, you're going to get these symptoms. They'll have all kinds of different colors and looks to them, but they're the same root cause. There's a level of mythology that has been spread about money in our culture that was spread with an agenda, frankly. If I was a bank, I would teach everyone that they needed a credit score. And the reason I would teach them they need a credit score, and the way to get a credit score, is to borrow money from me and pay it back to me so that you can raise your score, so you can borrow money from me, so you can pay it back to me, so you can raise your score, so you can borrow money from me, so you can pay it back to me, so you can raise your score. It's a great plan if you're a bank. It's a banking program to get people to borrow money. And so what's happened with some financial literacy programs in schools is they're going to teach you to build your FICO score. I haven't borrowed money in 30 years, so I don't have a credit score. Mine's undeterminable, or zero. The joke is, and it's the truth, if I go down to a local apartment complex and there's a sweet little 26-year-old apartment manager that corporate has told her what to do, and they require a FICO score to rent, I can't rent an apartment there. Now, I'm a multimillionaire. I can write a check and buy the complex, but I can't rent an apartment there. Now, that's just asinine. That's just ridiculous. And we've had lots of people with hundreds of thousands of dollars of student loan debt. And I mean, I had a guy with $1 million in credit card debt one time. How do you do that? I mean, that was like a full-time job. They just get themselves in all kinds of stuff. And so you get stupid on steroids and it just explodes. It gets exponential. And it's crazy humorous because it's so absurd. Also, while you're talking to them, it's just sad because they're completely trapped. How am I going to help him get out of that? Oh, it's just heartbreaking. And money's particularly weird in this area of belief because it will run from you. You can't catch it if you don't believe, because you won't do the sacrificial things. You won't live like no one else so that later you can live and give like no one else. And so you have to believe first. What we try to do is we try to bring in emotional behavior, data of other people, and math, and any kind of a lens I can get you to look through to make you believe that you can do it. I know you can do it, but I've got to convince you that you can do it before we can move into the tactical steps. I think we become, number one, who we hang around with. So you have to be careful. And I'm not talking about being snobbish to someone. I'm nice to anybody. I'll talk to anybody. But I'm talking about your crew, the people that are your inner circle. Who do you hang with? Your income is going to approximate theirs over time. Your physical condition, if they're all overweight, you're going to be overweight. If they take care of their bodies, you're going to take care of your body. If they have good marriages, you're going to have good marriage. You're going to become who you hang around with. You're going to read the books that they read. Number one, you need to get yourself in a community of people who are achievers, who believe it can be done, who understand it's tough, and I'll encourage you when you're having a hard one. Because I mean, some of us have had a hard couple of years here. A lot of us have. And so you got to have guys and gals in your corner that say, go champ, you got this, you can do it. I got your back, man. That's so much different than growing up in a neighborhood where my parents were saying, you can do this. But a lot of the kids I ran around with, their parents were saying, well, the little man can't get ahead. There's a group of people that declare themselves stuck. Then there's also a group of people within that same community, in that same tribe, it's a smaller group, that declare that it's possible to be free. It's possible to prosper. Anyone can just make that choice. I decide, and here we go. When I was doing counseling and coaching, I would go in and fix all of their budget, and they were about to file bankruptcy, but we pulled them back from the edge and said, okay, now work this plan. And then I would see them 6 weeks later and say, how's the plan going? We filed bankruptcy. What? I did 90 hours of work to get that to where it would do. What do you mean you filed bankruptcy? And I started realizing it wasn't math. Math wasn't the problem. Personal finance is 80% behavior, only 20% head knowledge. Everybody's trying to fix their finances with a math formula. And if you were doing math, you wouldn't be in credit card debt. Several years ago, we did the largest study of millionaires ever done in North America. So we decided as a PR part of the study to do 7,500 millionaires, 10 times what was necessary to be statistically significant. And here's what we found. 79% of America's millionaires, 79% inherited precisely zero, 8 out of 10. 5% more inherited a small amount like $1,500 or $5,000, mathematically could not have possibly made them a millionaire. Another 5% inherited substantial money like $100,000, $200,000 after they were already millionaires. So 5 and 5 and 79, we're at 89%. 9 out of 10 of America's millionaires did not become millionaires because of an inheritance. And I'm running into these guys everywhere in 30 years of doing this. And it's screaming at me, this is possible. And they're not rocket scientists. 1% of the millionaires in America, you would know their name, meaning that they're on TV or they're a rock star or they're an NBA or MLB or something. 99% are a teacher and